one squeaky chair you got there.
Yeah. It's different sitting on this side of the table.
Yeah. I feel you.
1 second here. Let me get a little bit of slack.
Get a little flex in there.
One thing I'd like to invest in one day is better.
Yeah, better booms.
Yeah. These things suck.
Don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome to episode 14 of the American Craftsman Podcast.
Yeah.
We're your hosts this week. Rob, Jeff. Rich is having some transportation problems today.
Yeah, he's nursing his wounds.
Yeah. So Rich hopefully will be back next week. Before we get started, wanted to ask for some feedback from you guys. If you're listening to the podcast, you'll notice that there's a 1-minute ad that runs at the top of the podcast and a 30-second ad that runs at the end of the podcast. Let us know what you think about that. Do you dislike it? Is fast forwarding past it a viable sort of thing? Are you going to actually listen? You know, this is a pre-generated ad through our podcast host that, listen, it's a penny a listen, literally. You know, we're trying to do everything we can to offset the cost of doing the podcast.
Right.
We really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
So any little thing that we can do to help, you know, we're going to try and do. But let us know if you don't like it. Hey, we'll get rid of it.
Yeah, definitely.
But, yeah, we listened, and I mean, it wasn't so bad. We got an ad about Vermont.
Yeah.
And then what was the closing ad?
I thought it was the same. It was definitely within the same realm, you know, kind of like outdoorsy.
Yeah,
it was northeast. Was it about skiing, maybe? Or was that the first one?
I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the ad was pretty lame. Like, whoever wrote it was...
It was a Muzak version of an ad.
It was pretty corny.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to more pressing matters.
Yeah, that's our intro.
We're going to get going with the beer of the week. Now, this is trying to salvage from the waffle sauce beer.
It's an easy step up from the waffle.
Wow, this could either be a hit or a total, it could blow up on the launch pad.
All right.
So this is a beer from...
Oh, this is a cool looking...
From Icarus Brewing. So that brewery is, I want to say it's in Lakewood. Yeah, brewed and canned in Lakewood, New Jersey. Shout out to Wild Willie. Grew up in Lakewood, I believe. It's funny, when I went to the liquor store yesterday, Icarus was on my mind because my tattoo artist, Chris Strange Brew, check him out on Instagram, from Old Glory Tattoo Company in Asbury Park. He just designed a glass for Icarus. They were doing some kind of fundraiser, and he designed this really cool glass. So this is called Fluffist. It's an imperial milk stout with cacao, vanilla, graham cracker, and marshmallows.
It's got a pretty descriptive little blurb on the back.
Oh, what's it say?
It says, dessert-style milk stout brewed with English malts, debittered black malts, and heavily oated, conditioned... Oh, and heavily oated. Yeah, the glasses aren't working, period. Conditioned on overwhelming amounts of cacao, Madagascar vanilla beans, marshmallows, and graham crackers.
Yeah, so they literally brew this beer, and then they put it into a tank with graham crackers and marshmallows and vanilla beans. And I'm going to be honest, I have high hopes. I hope it's better than that waffle beer.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's find out. I've heard good things about this brewery.
Cheers. And to you, Rich. Yeah.
Not bad.
What do you know?
Doesn't taste artificial like the...
No. It sort of transcends, I guess we should talk about later, but it kind of transcends the beer category in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm trying to pick things that are... You and Rich aren't as adventurous in terms of beer. I mean, I spent a lot of time working in a bar that was a craft brewery bar, like one of the top in this area. So I drank every beer under the sun. So when I'm picking a beer for beer of the week, I'm looking for something that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's good.
Yeah. I would have walked right past this in the store just because of the label, which has those s'mores on them.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that's probably not a good mix, but no.
It's got a super long...
yeah, the taste goes on.
Yeah, it changes. Well, we won't talk too much about it. That's good, though. Yeah. Maybe I should bring the other two over here because I might have another. Stay tuned for the after show. So next up, we got tool of the week. Rob, it's you this week.
All right. Well, my tool of the week is my Starrett protractor head sliding rule. It's a beautiful tool if you can see it.
How long is that one?
It's 18 inches. That's the other thing that makes this thing really cool. I picked this up. This was actually before I was a woodworker when I did that
Timber framing?
Yeah, up in Maine. They gave us a list of tools that they thought we could use, and this was on the list. And I busted out the credit card because it's not an inexpensive tool.
No. That's a buy once, cry once kind of tool, though.
It is. I mean, you could see we've used it here in the shop, and this being 25 or closer to 30 years old, it's like it's brand new as far as its usability.
Yeah.
Couple of things I like about it are the 18 inches in length. This is great for going across wide boards and things like that. It's Starrett, so the quality is there.
Mm-hmm. And the
right
accuracy.
Off the bat. Yeah. And it's got a protractor head. You really, at my age and with my eyesight, you got to kind of look real close to dial it in. But it's really accurate. You can set that, and it's great for that kind of use, like doing marking off angles instead of just going by a 45. If you want to go a 22 and a half or a 30 degree or any kind of angle, it's really good for transferring those angles.
Checking it, let's say you have to replicate something and there's an angle on it.
Exactly. It feels really substantial. Again, it's a Starrett. All the knobs and the controls and the fine engraving on it. You could read the rule as if it just came out of the box, even though it's clearly been used all these times.
One of my favorite things about all these Starrett, combination squares and double squares is the knob to tighten it down.
Yeah,
is so much better than any of the other ones.
Yeah,
I have a PEC double square that I think that might have been tool of the week one week.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about it is that knob. It's too small.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get the torque to tighten it down and to loosen it.
Yeah.
Loosening it especially is hard.
And maybe it has something to do with the threads or something. It actually feels like it cinches up when you tighten it, not just getting twisting it tighter. Mm-hmm. There's something about it. You say it again. It's a Starrett. I mean, it's really a well-made tool. It's a machine.
Yeah. I'd say that, for me at least, I pull that out most often to check the accuracy of a tape measure.
Yeah.
Because the first 18 inches and even less, the first 10 inches of a tape measure are really the most important for us because, most parts that we cut are small and the bigger ones are cut using stops and stuff.
Yeah.
So having an accurate tape measure is super important.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've had some tapes in the past that have surprised us on their accuracy.
Yeah.
Things that we sort of poo-pooed, and it's like, wow, this tape is really pretty good.
And we've had versions of the same tape. I use that Starrett exact 16-foot. I've had ones that were dead on there and ones that were a little bit off. So we've had check tapes that were full 16th of an inch difference.
Yeah. And when you're working with three guys in a shop like we do, that makes a big difference.
You all have to have the same. I think we ran into that where one of us had a tape that was either 16th long or 16th short. No, here. And, it can cause some real fuck ups.
Yeah, because in the old place, there was one guy who had either it was like the tab was bent or worn, and he refused to give up his tape, even though every other tape in the whole shop was a 16th different. You know, every other tape was aligned.
Yeah, and you can try and like fix them by bending the hook and stuff, but for me, a tape is so cheap.
Yeah.
Even if you're buying like the expensive tapes, like $20, it's not worth it because you need to be able to trust that tool. It's one of the most basic tools you have, but it's one of the most important.
Yeah, we've kind of touched on that, and it's true. I mean, where would we be without those tapes? That and our pencil.
Yeah, if you're going somewhere to measure a job or something, one of the two things that you have to grab, a tape and a pencil.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So check it out. You know what? Like I said, anything Starrett makes is worth pursuing. This is an investment kind of tool, I'll say.
Yeah.
You know, you might be a little squeamish about the price when you see it, but it's really worth it. I mean, there's no question about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of imitators, but...
Yeah. And it works beautifully. It slides, you know, like it's oiled up even. That's how smooth it operates.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right. Let's move on. What do we got?
We got the gripe of the week.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a stab at it this week.
Take a swipe.
Here's my gripe. Listen, I ordered some books.
Oh, yeah.
On Black Friday. Not because there was a sale or anything. I just happened to be ordering some books. I have, I don't know, half a dozen books coming, maybe more. United States Postal Service Media Mail has to be the worst shipping option that has ever existed.
Yeah, we need to get a Postal Service employee to fill us in on this. Like, do they like really diss?
Yeah, I understand that it's made to be cost effective for shipping heavy stuff like books, but is it at the bottom of the very bottom of the list? Because these packages are sitting around, the tracking is completely off. Now we ship everything off our website, priority first class mail.
Yeah.
USPS first class mail, which is the same as like a letter. I have no problems really. We've had some issues with lost packages and stuff like that, but that happens when you're sending, hundreds of packages. I just don't know what's going on with these books. I finally got one. I'm hoping to get some more today. They said they're coming today, but the tracking says they're still in Jersey City. If they're on my stoop, I have no idea. I don't get it.
Yeah, we're wondering if when these boxes arrive at some postal destination, if they're like shoved into the corner, if they're like the ugly stepchildren, and if the truck is too full or if the driver is having a bad day, they just, we'll get to that in a day or two.
Yeah, I think it's the very last priority are these packages, which is funny. This is my whole thing. I could order anything. Something so stupid and insignificant, and it'll be here tomorrow.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to get a book.
Yeah. Well,
the most noble purchase that you can make. And it takes.
We think so.
20 days to get the freaking book.
Yeah. It's a good thing we're interested in all these old arts and crafts because. If it was technology, we'd be on to a new model by the time these books got here.
Yeah, I mean, I ordered paper towels for the shop this morning. They're going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's big and heavy, too.
Yeah.
Heavier than a book.
It is. That was a big box. It's 6 rolls of those center pulls. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, speaking of which, if you have to buy center pull paper towels, which we have like a Georgia Pacific, like you see in a bathroom or something like that. Don't buy the Amazon brand because they're horrible.
Yeah, no perforations.
They're 2-ply, and the perforations are offset so that you could pull it, and next thing you know, you pulled out 6 towels, and you can't rip it.
Yeah.
So, you know what? We sent them back, and I got the real deal.
Not ecologically sound either.
No, it goes to show you, don't buy the knockoff because it's not as good.
No.
Never is. If it was, it wouldn't be a knockoff.
Exactly.
So that's my gripe. You have experience with media mail? Let me know.
Yeah. want to hear from you on these gripes. It's something we're curious about.
Well, I better move on because we have a lot of questions this week. We got a page and a half here of questions.
Yeah.
You want to kick it off?
All right, sure. So the first question's from Kevin McMahon, and he's one of our patrons.
Thanks, Kevin.
So he asks, in a production shop, how do you find a time to learn new techniques?
Well, I'd say the main way is work it into a job.
That's exactly my answer as well. We're constantly challenging ourselves here, whether it's by design or technique. And whenever we see something cool, we usually discuss it among ourselves, just in the way any fan of any sport might talk about something. It's just one of our interests and our passions in that respect. So we'll say, hey, check this out. Do you see how this guy's doing these dovetails? And we'll go, well, yeah, let's work that into the next job if we can.
Yeah.
And that's how we do it. And we'll probably make a mock-up. We'll test it out on a couple of pieces of wood and figure out how we want to do it. And that's how.
Yeah. Yeah, and like for stuff that's not super involved, when you have a little bit of downtime, I mean, instead of just standing around.
We made those stools.
Yeah. Spoons, messed around with spoons one time, made stools. What else? We've done some other stuff like that.
Yeah, we do crazy things. And then, in between the jobs and stuff like that, or at lunchtime, we'll just start doing something, and it spurs a little bit of like competition, like one person starts making spoons, like, you start digging through the scrap bucket. It's like, oh yeah, this is going to make my spoon out of this.
Yeah. A good example is, so we're designing this piece of furniture. It's going to house a Mealy coffee. What do you call that? Coffee station, coffee system.
Yeah. System.
It's a built-in coffee system where I guess it grinds the beans, makes coffee drinks, stuff like that.
It's expensive. It should do a lot.
Yeah, it's like a $5,000 built-in coffee maker. And initially it was this sort of, it's snowing outside.
Oh, man.
Beautiful.
Our first snowfall of the year.
In New Jersey. We'll see how long it lasts. I'm going to guess in about 90 seconds it's going to be over. Yeah, to our friends up in Canada, man, I saw they're already getting real snow.
Yeah, they
real snow for here, not for them.
When we complain about the 3 inches of snow.
Yeah. So this piece initially it was sort of like a campaign style. I don't know. It's hard to put a finger on what this style was because we're replicating the look of a piece of furniture that a designer took a photo of. Now dealing directly with the client, they're referencing to us this piece of Queen Anne furniture that they have.
Yeah,
and they like
really
this
different
ram's head pediment that's on the top. So we're thinking about how we can that, and they want us to what we call value engineer the project. So they want us to lower the price and find a way that we can build it for what fits within their budget, which is fine. It's
it's part of the job. That's what we do.
So we're looking at ways to try and get this pediment in there. And so yesterday we're talking about it, and I say to Rob, I remember seeing Matt Cremona, which if you listen to this podcast and you don't know who Matt Cremona is, go on YouTube right now and check him out. He's a fantastic woodworker. I remember seeing Matt Cremona make these, make the molding for these pediments. So we go on YouTube, sit down, we watch the video. Now I'm dying to try this out.
And Matt Cremona in his video told us all where he got the techniques and the inspiration.
Was a book about making period furniture.
So he's passing it on, giving the credit, and that's exactly what we would do.
Yeah, he uses this router jig that has 2 feet that sit on the... Basically, you bandsaw... If you don't know what a ram's head pediment is, it's a curve, kind of slopes... I mean, how would you explain this? It slopes up.
It's like an S-shaped molding.
Right, an S-shaped molding that gets higher in the center, and then they'll return back towards the wall. So you have to cut this thick piece out of a piece of like 12-quarter into this S shape. Then you need to route a profile into it. So he uses these 2 feet that sit on the bench top and a stylus that comes off of it and references the edge of the wood, because you can't use bearing guided bits in a situation like this, because you have to route in multiple passes from the top sort of down to the bottom. And I had seen it before, but it wasn't in my brain.
Didn't click.
Yeah, I didn't remember how he had done it and the technique. But that's something where you do that one time to do something like that. That's a technique that you can use in many different applications.
Yeah, our wheels were spinning in the mind, when we were watching. It's like, oh man, that's a cool idea for X, Y, and Z too.
Yeah, and if we just made it a simple profile, it wouldn't be that hard to do.
Yeah, so that's how we do it. I think first is the desire.
Mm-hmm.
We have the desire. Even in the somewhat repetitive things that we do, like a kitchen, we don't really repeat ourselves with that either. Of course, the cases, we try and make the cases the same so that we can, speed up production of those elements. But in all of the aesthetics and everything else, we're always looking to push the envelope.
Yeah.
So that's it. First is the want and the will. And
I said it the other day, complacency is a killer.
Yeah.
Don't get too comfortable doing what you're doing.
Right. And don't be afraid to put it into your next proposal.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. I can't even think of how many times we propose something that we haven't done.
Yeah.
And
we're going to do this thing. We're going to get it powder coated. And
then they hire us and we go, all right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've said it before about having like that little bit of fear in the pit of your stomach. It pushes you to learn and to do new things. Don't be afraid to promise something that you don't know how to do yet.
Yeah. Because you could, even if you want to, go back and, demo it in your own shop, or a lot of times we'll build something for our house, like a cheap version of something to test it and go, all right, this will work.
Yeah, that stool's over at the salon that my wife works at now.
Yeah, that's the way that stuff goes.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
What we got here next? This is from Justin De Palma on Instagram. He's another Jersey guy up North Jersey, I believe. When are you going to have True Trade Carpentry on? Asking for a friend. I know Tim was just up there at Justin's shop yesterday, I believe. So we're taking a little break from guests right now, just with everything that's going on. A little touch and go for everybody, I guess.
Yeah, trying to be responsible.
Yeah. Next couple months, hopefully we'll feel comfortable enough to have guests on again. Tim's at the top of the list. Ryan Massey from Massey Carpentry's at the top of the list.
Oh yeah, bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the cool things about the podcast. It's grown our community of friends and colleagues. It's enjoyable to do it. All right. So the answer's soon.
Yeah. 2021.
Yeah. So where do you source your lumber is the next question. That's Van004 on Reddit.
Yeah, we're breaking into Reddit now. Tapping in for more questions.
We just made an order today.
Yeah. Yeah, so our lumber comes from a company called O'Shea Lumber Company, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
O'Shea Lumber. They're in Glen Rock, Pennsylvania, which is sort of south central on the border of Maryland. It's about a 3-hour car ride and maybe a 4-hour truck ride.
The drivers, they're usually, they're well worn by the time they get there.
Yeah, we're one of the later stops. They do service this area, and I think probably all of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So the stipulation with our purchasing through O'Shea is that to get a delivery, we have to buy 300 board feet of lumber, and we have to get a minimum of 100 board feet of each.
Of any one.
Right.
Yeah.
Of not just species of like 5-quarter cherry. It would have to be 100 board feet. 4-quarter sapele, 100 board feet. So like today, we just placed an order for 150 board feet of 4-quarter sawn sapele, 150 board feet of 5-quarter cherry, and 150 board feet of 6-quarter poplar, which we're going to be using to do some sort of prototyping kind of stuff.
Yeah. We have a couple of ideas, and this goes back to question number one.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a business venture.
Yeah. And a risk.
Yeah, we'll take that time. We'll carve out a day or two, or we'll work longer days if we have to, and see what we can come up with.
Yeah. I mean, we'd like to come up with some things that we can make. I don't want to say quickly. I mean, well, quickly
compared to what we usually.
Yeah. Things that we can basically boil down to a very productive point where we can batch out, maybe a half dozen of these things and market them more towards interior designers,
right?
To try and get into this market of high end, in the price range of high end production furniture, but still a custom, made by someone in a shop with their hands.
Right. We're gonna mock up that chair design that you came up with. We were sitting talking at lunch the other day, and I said, here's our challenge. We're going to design a chair with no more than 10 parts. So that's what we did. So those were the parameters. We were going to make this design that we would have 10 pieces max that when we put them together would make this cool chair that we could repeat the build on. Because chairs are pretty difficult and they could be costly.
Yeah. I'm just realizing I wanted to get 8-quarter, not 6-quarter.
We could probably make that call.
Yeah.
And there are a few other things. So we wanted to get, sort of like an inexpensive type of hardwood, something that we could work without having to worry too much about grain direction, and just make some mock-ups of things.
Yeah. We called, and this is what's great about using I don't want to say small, but like a family-owned sort of lumber yard where you don't have to go and pick out the boards yourself, which can be good, but these are all graded, so we know what we're getting is going to be good. We only buy FAS lumber. So we call and we say, this is what we're looking for. This is our goal. And he said, let me look at some options. I'll give you a call back. So he calls back with pricing, said you could try basswood, poplar, pine. Believe it or not, pine. For clear pine, it's...
Give the shocking news.
60% more expensive than cherry.
Yeah. For those of you thinking about building a piece of furniture, you've always thought about making a Morris chair or something like that. Now might be the time to buy some cherry.
Yeah, and cherry is significantly easier to work than pine.
Yeah.
Pine, good luck chiseling pine.
Yeah,
You can't chop pine. It's too stringy and fibrous. If you've ever done door hardware as a finished carpenter,
good example, yeah.
Those stiles and rails made out of pine they're brutal to deal with.
Yeah, really much too soft. It's not a furniture grade wood.
No. So poplar is, not the prettiest thing, but it's hard enough and it's easy to work.
Yeah, it'll give us a good idea what it would be like to make it out of a different wood too.
Yeah, the grain's pretty consistent. There's no real surprises in terms of, grain reversal isn't like a big issue, and there's no real figure to deal with where you're going to get a lot of tear out.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, am I up next? Here we go. Should you glue both edges on a panel glue up or only one? This one's sure to inspire debate, and that's from Austin 397 on Reddit, and he's probably right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a consensus on this one.
No.
I mean, I would say that more important than how many sides you glue would be getting a good spread on the glue. I like to actually spread the glue on an edge with your finger, with a brush. If you're just putting a line of glue and not spreading it, maybe putting it on both sides is a good idea.
Yeah.
And sort of rub the pieces together after you put them up to one another. But I think one edge is fine. For the only time I do two is for like a cutting board. because I know it's going to get wet and be subject to a lot of abuse. Yeah. And I want to really get good squeeze out in case there's any gaps that need to be filled.
Yeah.
Just because when you're gluing up something that has let's say a 12-inch wide board, it has 10 seams. There's a lot of room for there to be gaps. Yeah. So I really like to put a lot of glue in something like that.
Yeah.
But we don't really make cutting boards.
No. I mean, we glue up a lot of tops. I mean, we glue up a lot of
door panels.
Because we work with hardwood, a ton. I'm more of the one side is cool camp. Again, I'm like you. I like to make sure the glue is spread to the edges on that one board.
Yep.
And as important as spreading is, the right amount of glue is really key. Too little, and it's called a starved joint, I think. And too much, not only is it messy, but it's not strong either. So typically when I'm doing glue up like a top or anything like that, I got my clamps out. We use the Bessies, so they serve as kind of like the platform off the work table. I turn the boards up after all the jointing and marking and matching is done. Spread the glue on one board edge really well. Plop it down. I kind of give it a little bit of a wiggle, get it seated, and there you go. You're off to the races.
Something you can do is once you butt those edges up to one another and you give them that little swipe across each other, is actually separate it and take a look.
Yeah, see what happens.
Look at the piece that had no glue on it.
Yeah.
Is there glue across the whole thing? If not, you may need to put some more glue in certain spots.
Yeah.
And you really want a very small, consistent squeeze out.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be totally continuous, but...
Yeah, you want to see glue coming through the joint.
Yeah.
No squeeze out is bad.
Yeah. And this is the reason I like Type On 3 is because it's less viscous. I find with less glue, I get a more consistent squeeze out. Yeah. I don't know if it's just because...
Because you're familiar with it.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But with like Type On 1, I find that because it's so thick and it actually sort of skins over quicker, it's harder for me to get a consistent squeeze out with the same amount of glue.
Yeah, like when I use 3, I always get way too much because I'm a 1 guy.
Yeah, and with 1, like I feel like when I'm spreading it, because I spread with my finger usually, it like my finger drags. Yeah. But with the Type On 3, you just wipe it and it's nice and thin.
Yeah, I started with 1 and I'm still with 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the Type On 3.
Yeah. You got to get used to it if you're switching from 1.
Yeah, it's super runny.
Yeah. And you got to use a different amount.
Yeah. And for cutting, if you're making cutting boards, use Type On 3 because it's waterproof.
Yes. I mean, that's really why they started making them, I guess. They have different properties.
Yeah. And the color, excuse me.
Yeah.
The color of Type On 3 for something like walnut is going to be better than...
It's not that yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, it dries more of like a gray.
Yeah. So, as... what's his name?
Austin 397.
Austin has proclaimed it's sure to inspire debate. I mean, we're kind of in agreement, but what's the consensus, if there is one out there in podcast land?
Yeah, I think this will be a heated subject.
Yeah, I want to hear from you. Don't be shy.
We got our next question here from our buddy Randall, RM Crafts and Customs on Instagram. He says, I'm new to HVLP sprayers. Does it really cut down on finishing time versus spraying by hand? I don't really have any experience with HVLP, so I know you have some.
Yeah. A lot of the time involved in these sprayers is in setting it all up, breaking it all down.
You've been following along on Instagram. We've been spraying for the last. We just wrapped up on Tuesday, yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yesterday, we had been spraying for at least all of last week, right?
Yeah, yesterday. I mean, it was just to touch up some of the base molds.
Yeah. Which that's how you know that we care about our clients, because rather than for this mantle, we should have done it ideally before we started painting at all, but So we painted all the parts, and then I cut the base molding to go around these pilasters, before we got there to save some time on install. And, we've all cut pre-finished material in kitchens, crown, furniture base, and installed it. That's the way it goes most of the time. Right. But I'm looking at them saying, they really would look better if I painted them. So,
yeah, you knock down those super sharp corners from the miter.
Pulled out the spray setup, set up a tar, put up the poles.
Cleaned it.
Just a spray.
It's 30 degrees outside.
Yeah, 2 little pieces. So, would it have been fine and passed the client? Yeah, totally. But you know what? To me, it looks so much better.
Yeah, it does. So really, it all depends. I always found it's a kind of a wash in time. You're spending more time on different parts of that job. It's just about the end result. Are you satisfied with the results that you're getting?
Yeah.
The HVLP is sort of like I had a hard time dialing that system in consistently from job to job. It was like I always had to start over from the beginning. I'd liken it to almost that Lee dovetail jig that I had many moons ago. Mm-hmm. No matter how many drawer boxes or whatever you'd use, you still have to bust out that manual every time. And
we're just getting to the point now with we have a Graco Magnum X5, which is just a cheap airless setup, but it's really good for the price. I'd say less than $300. We just are finally getting to the point of not needing that setup and breakdown sheet to get everything set up and break down.
And we learned a bit about its nuances.
Yep.
How it's finicky in this way, not so much in that way. Yeah. So
I'd say like I said, I don't have any experience with HVLP, but I have sprayed a little bit with cup guns. And HVLP will tend to have that container down at the bottom.
Yeah, it can be heavy when you fill it up, and then you have to refill it.
Yeah, it's hard enough to have the finesse with a airless or air-assisted airless gun.
Yeah.
Let alone holding 16 ounces or 32 ounces of paint in your hand while you're trying to, paint these complex sort of shapes if you're doing crown molding.
Another downside, because the hose is thicker. It's thicker than like a garden. It's as thick as a garden hose, but up by the gun, it's a little bit thicker because it's got like the strain relief on and everything. It's unwieldy. Mm-hmm. You have to have a nice big open setup. If you're in a little tent like we have, it's not really ideal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say check out the airless sprayers.
Yeah.
You can get them pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Graco has like a cordless, which it's similar to a HVLP where it has a canister with the finish in it. But, I would definitely say that the finish you can achieve by spraying is much better than by brushing or wiping on. The gnats, I don't know, they come out during podcast time for some reason.
Yeah, so as far as the time goes, it's probably a wash. You're just spending your time differently. Mm-hmm. I would concentrate on ease of use, enjoyment of use, and finished product. How does it look? Are you satisfied?
Yeah. And I think over time you'll probably develop the skills to make it more time efficient. Yeah. It's an upfront investment just like anything else.
Right, in time and money. Sure. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Mr. Sly Guy, I don't know. He's barking up the wrong tree there.
Yeah, it's another good one. Mr. Sly Guy on Reddit. r/woodworking. I was banned there for a little bit, but I'm back. Where'd you set your pencil down last? I guarantee you won't know the answer to that one.
He doesn't know how obsessive we are.
Yeah. You don't know who we are, Mr. Sly Guy. Got pencils all over the place.
Yeah.
But no, they're right in the apron, right here.
Right. I'm not wearing my apron now as we do this. So.
Look, you got 3 pencils.
got my Rotring here, my German.
Actually, I took that for a test drive the other day when John stopped by. That's a nice pencil.
Yeah, it is. aluminum body. It is nice. I mean, it's really, once you get into these things, you can appreciate the little fine points.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't lose it, it is kind of like, you call it a lifetime pencil, but if this pencil lasts you 10, 20 years, I mean, what more do you ask, right?
This is the way I've always looked at these like tool purchases and stuff. Say you buy a tool, costs $350. That's $1 a day for a year.
Right.
Would I pay $1 a day to use a Festool sander?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it works out to not a lot of money at all.
How much did we pay for the Rotex when we got it recently?
Close to $600, $550. It's paid
That
for itself
thing
10 times over.
I mean,
we've only had it for 6 months.
It's a joy, first off, to use, and it's still 6 months later, we're still going, man, this is a good sander.
Yeah.
And we use the sanders all the time. I mean, it's...
Yeah, the other sanders are getting set on the bench for the most part now.
We were like, man, it'd be nice to have another one of these.
Yeah, a 5 or a 3.
Yeah. That's how good it is. And that's the value in the tools. And so we always know where our pencils are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we keep other ones, within an arm's reach for the most part. There's pencils all over the place. Yeah. I have another 6 pencils in my drawer just in case.
Right. There's probably 20 mechanical pencils in this shop. Sometimes they're cast off.
Rich has, I'm looking at his apron over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pencils in his apron.
Yeah, and there's maybe at least 30 regular pencils. We have an old-fashioned pencil sharpener, that you turn the handle. Yep. And I like to use those every now and again. I just like the feel of it.
Yeah, it's always nice to have one you could just grab. Because, if, there goes the ambulance. If you're not wearing your apron, if we're on lunch or before we get locked in for the day or when we're cleaning up, we might get a call from a supplier or a client, and you always want to have something close by to just grab. We have legal pads all over the place, clipboards with pads on them, because it's important to take notes and
Back before glasses, I used to keep one behind the ear. I was a pencil behind the ear guy.
I stick them up in my hat.
Yeah, and even when I was a teacher, I used to keep the old red pencil behind the ear, and that was one of my shticks with the kids. I used to
threaten them with the red pencil.
Well, in New York, you used to have these little thin books that you use for keeping attendance and marking grades back before everything was computerized. So I used to carry around. I mean, I was like a shop teacher in history class. So carried around in my back pocket with my red pencil up under my ear, and I learned that I didn't really have to be doing anything. All I had to do was just kind of open the book, take it out, and make like I was writing something down.
Look at somebody when you're doing it.
Yeah, and they would say, "What are you doing, Mr. B? I didn't do nothing." Whoa, what did I say anything?
Oh my God.
Those were good days.
I bet.
It was simple back then, not like it is today.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I remember getting a handwritten report card, not for very long when I was very young, but for a short time.
Wow. Yeah. Those were the days. So, Mr. Sly Guy, we know where those pencils are.
That's right. Where do you keep yours?
Yeah, where you keep your pencil.
Well, up next, we got a question from our good buddy Manny.
Oh, cool.
He was on episode 11.
Has it been that long?
Yeah,
wow.
I think so. Manny said, when working in a shop environment and obstacles occur, is it the, quote, guy in charge who makes the call, or should it be discussed as a team? What do you think, Rob?
Wow. Well, I mean, this is a real easy answer as far as like the short answer, which is, discussed as a team. That's the short answer. You can't work as a team. If you're working by yourself, for yourself, that's fine. You are the guy in charge and the guy who's doing all the labor and everything else.
Yep.
But if you're working with one other person, these are the things that go into being a cooperative unit. You have to discuss these things, even if you both agree. And frequently, I mean, 95% of the time, we already know we're going to agree on something, but we still discuss it. And we still have the courtesy and respect for one another to say, hey, Jeff, what do you think about this?
Yeah. It's always good to get that affirmation, too, just of what you're thinking.
Right.
I think what Manny here is asking is more specific in a sort of...
If something doesn't go right.
Well, a hierarchy where there's a guy who is the owner or the foreman, the super, and there's a team of people working under them, we'll call it.
I see.
This is the way I see it. The final call is on this quote, guy in charge, but there should always be a discussion.
Yeah.
Because if you don't value the opinion of the people that are working under you, which it's a shitty term to use,
right.
but that's the reality. If you don't value the opinion of people that are working under you, then you have the wrong people working under you.
Right.
And, I think it should always be a discussion because everybody has something to add to the conversation.
Oh, definitely. And especially when things, pop up, we send obstacles when obstacles occur. So this is an unplanned, unforeseen event.
Yep.
You have to work around it. Now you have to come up with a solution. It makes me think back when I was like working in the restaurants and I was a chef. I'm not going to tell the dishwasher how to get something off of a burned pot. I'm going to say, what do you think? Do you have what's necessary to get this pot clean and back to normal? Not going to give them a toothbrush and go, this is how I expect you to do it. Or even anything like a green scrubby. It's not going to do it, but a lot of
it's good
people...
for that butter knife. Right. If you ever worked in a restaurant, the dishwasher always has a butter
hear
knife.
That scraping sound, or the dough knife if it's big enough. Yeah. So again, Jeff and I agree. It's his point about valuing the people that you work with and you're in charge of managing is really a relevant one. And if you don't value their input, their abilities, their ability to solve problems on their own, then it's really the wrong person, because now you have to micromanage everything they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an efficient way of having an employee or managing somebody underneath you. Yeah. So that was a great question, and I think an easy answer.
I mean, case in point, Manny used to come on installs with me quite a bit when I was an installer. I would ask him for his opinion constantly, and Manny would come up with great ideas and solutions to whatever obstacle, because if you're a kitchen installer or a cabinet installer, millwork installer, there's constant obstacles and problem solving. Yeah. And it can't just be one guy that comes up with all these.
No.
Because you're going to create some type of animosity, because there's no way you have the right answer every time.
No way. Yeah. I always think of a time when I was building these again, it goes back to the question number one. I was building these really huge sliding closet doors for this loft up in Jersey City. And I was and frequently I'd have to adapt hardware to make it work, because it wouldn't be designed either for the size or something. So I'm trying to figure out how to get the bottom of the door to run through this channel. And I spoke of Andrew and Christopher often, these two kids that were in high school. So Andrew might have been 16 at the time, and he's here to, kind of just sweep up and maybe sand, put on some wax and stuff. He goes, what if you did X, Y, and Z? I'm like, holy shit, that's the answer.
Yeah. Because everybody's looking at it from a different angle.
And it was the answer, and it worked perfectly. Mm-hmm. And, you got to be open-minded to these things. And it was, it's just probably in your personality, whether or not you have, a frail ego and you can't accept help from somebody.
Yeah, we know, and Manny knows well about people that don't like other people's ideas. What's up next? This is from Low Country Modern, Loco Modern on Instagram. Pineapple on pizza? Love it or hate it?
Another easy for me.
Yeah. That's a no?
for me, not only is it a no, once you break out those types of ingredients, it stops being pizza.
Yeah.
It's another kind of food, which I might enjoy with some more alterations in the ingredients because, you know, I love bread like most of us. So, but I'm a traditionalist with pizza.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up eating pizza almost every day. You know, it's one of those things where it was on the corner.
Yep.
And a slice of pizza was literally 25 cents.
Jeez.
If you could imagine that.
$2-3 now?
Yeah. So it was something that while you're walking to the train or walking from the train home, you would just
get a slice.
Eat a slice of pizza, not for meals or anything like that. It was just, you know, what's the word? Omnipresent. You know, it's everywhere when you grow up in a place like I did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, even in New Jersey, there's a pizza place right here. Is there one in that?
Yeah.
One over there. There's half a dozen pizza places within a mile. You got Valentino's over here and Naples, which are across the street from one another. There's pizza everywhere. See, me, I'm not going to probably pick to put pineapple on a pizza, but if I was like at a party or something and they had, I'm not going to eat pineapple on just plain, like a plain pie. Yeah. But if it was like
typically it has ham on it.
Yeah, a ham and pineapple. I'm not going to order that myself, but will I eat it and probably enjoy it? Yeah.
That's like the cinnamon raisin bagel. That's not a bagel.
No, I like those. I do like those. I used to get one everything and one cinnamon raisin. Which is funny. I just said pie. See, in New Jersey, and they say in New York, it's we call it a pie. Yeah. Not a pizza pie. You order a pie, a plain pie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what you guys call it everywhere else, but
yeah, that's funny. Pineapple. There's actually, for those who don't know, I'm a musician. And I play guitar now, and one of my weird obsessions is with guitar pedals. And there's a fuzz pedal made by Carolina Guitar Company, and it's called the Pineapple Pizza. And I just won't have that pedal because it's called the Pineapple Pizza. I can't.
So you'll eat a pineapple flatbread?
I would taste it. Mm-hmm. I would taste it. I might not like it. I'm not big on those things, like the mixture of fruit with the savory.
What about a brie with like dried cherries on it?
Yeah. I mean, cheese and fruit is a nice mixture.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That was a super hot. I don't know if you were still working in restaurants at that point. Every restaurant had the warm brie with like
brie and
raspberry
and stuff. Yeah.
And then they would change it up where it would do cranberries in the wintertime.
Oh, those trends.
Yeah,
I love them.
That stuff is good though.
Oh yeah, come on. So I guess I might like that because it's how different would it be from like a cracker, which is another thing. So you're talking about cheese, fruit, and it's somewhat desiccated because it's been in the oven, right? The pineapple.
Yeah, and it can't be like just like dull pineapple out of the can.
Right.
Like,
it's got that caramelization on it. So it's getting better as you talk about it.
Yeah. Like they have at the Chinese food, those teriyaki beef or chicken with the little piece of pineapple and the maraschino cherry on there.
I would say it'd have to be like equivalent of a white pie for me, though. No tomato sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's acid on top of acid, too.
Yeah, and the tomato and the pineapple, that's not me.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think? Did we cover that one?
That's a maybe.
It's a maybe, even from me.
Yeah, I'll eat it, but that's not saying much.
Yeah, Jeff, he's the adventurous one.
Yeah.
All right, so who's this last one from? Not the next one's from Coffee Shot. Just learned what a shot was today.
We've all had a coffee shot.
Coffee Shot on Reddit. What was your, quote, I could make a living at this, quote, moment? That's a good one.
Yeah, I'd say for me, when I first started, I started just as like a general laborer, basically, with a custom builder. I started shortly after another guy who started in the same position, really. And a couple weeks in, they sort of took both of us and they're like, all right, we're going to trim out these windows. and it was to see who was going to go with the finish guys and who was going to go with the framers.
Who was going to clean out the dumpster.
Yeah. So it was like, both of us trimmed out a window, and like, I don't know, I immediately had an affinity for it, and did a pretty good job like casing my first window. So I ended up going with the trim guy as a finish carpenter, and then this guy Pete ended up going with the framers. I don't know. That's when it clicked as more than just being a construction worker.
Yeah.
As like a lot of people refer to it as.
Yes.
It was like, oh wow, I can be a carpenter, a finish carpenter.
That's an antiquated phrase, isn't it? A construction worker.
Yeah.
With your construction boots and your construction belt.
Hard hat, fluorescent vest.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I don't think I had a moment. When we moved here, I was a teacher, and it was taking New Jersey so long to give me my license. If you don't know, each state sends you your license. So I had a license in New York State. We moved from New York to New Jersey. So I was waiting for my license.
Is there any type of like test or anything you have to take, or it's just like you fill out the paperwork?
No. Well, you have to have the degree.
Yeah.
And then New York State has their own testing system. Yeah, and Praxis is the system. It's just I think your sister probably wrote some stuff for them. That's the testing system that most other states use. I think probably 48 or 50. So essentially, they're like these like final exam things. You go in there, it's like a 2 or 3 hour test. Some of that crazy multiple choice, like A and B, A, C, and D, none of the others. And then there's like essay stuff. So I came in and I took the history, and I also took English language and literature, even though I didn't have a degree in English, but I wanted to get that license so I could up my chances of getting a job. So I'm waiting for my license to come, and I was fixing up the house, and I really didn't think about, had no designs on being a woodworker, and let alone have my own woodworking business. But I thought, what the hell? While I'm waiting, I just put a lawn sign out, and I got a job. And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. But I was still thinking I was going to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
You were just scrapping, basically.
Yeah, I was just, you're a hustler.
Yeah. Not in the sense of ripping people off.
Right.
Not like a pool hustler.
A hustler like, you don't sit around on your behind waiting for something. You go out and you make your own breaks.
Yep. So
I did get offered one job, but it was down in Point Pleasant Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, man, that's a far drive. So I turned it down. And I said, I'm going to try this. Worst that can happen is I'll try it for a year. I could always go back to work in a restaurant. Once you're in the restaurant business,
it's like riding a bike.
You could get a job doing anything.
Yeah.
And then it was, well, if I make it a year, I'll go another year. And then it was, well, if I'm in business for 3 years, I'll make it. And then if I'm in business for 5 years. And it just happened.
Now we're 20 years later.
Yeah, I mean, I still think, wow, I can't believe, I managed to do this. So, it would be interesting to hear from our listeners.
Yeah.
And in addition to the questions that they're sending in, send us your moment when you thought, wow, I can really do this.
Yeah.
And we'll just read them off. That would be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little addendum next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know, every week the podcast is also on YouTube, so you can watch the video version.
Yeah. These are some good questions. I mean, we always have a lot of, but this is
the questions are getting better and better, which is good.
Yeah.
That's,
credit to the listeners.
Yeah. What do we got next here? This is from Kevin again, one of our patrons, Kevin McMahon. What has been your biggest surprise since starting Greene Street and your biggest disappointment? That's a good one.
Yeah. You want to switch off on surprise and disappointment and then reverse it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to start with disappointment. I'm going to say the biggest disappointment for me is more in the culture we've encountered. And by that, I mean the reticence that clients have to spend the money on something that's, handmade. And we're talking about not excessively expensive, just, when compared to the knockdown stuff that we've all become accustomed to in society, it seems to be a growing thing. Like that has picked up momentum. When I first started, was 10, 12 years into it, I didn't get that vibe from people. They were happy to experience
by
this
a
sort
lifelong
of thing. Yes. And more people that could well afford it don't recognize the value in it. And I have some opinions on that, but that's the biggest disappointment.
I'd say I'm going to do surprise now.
Yeah, you do surprise.
I'd say my biggest surprise is this whole podcast.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Rob and I yesterday we're looking at a map of the world and where people are listening to this podcast. It blew my mind.
Yeah,
all over the world, in Belgium and Italy and Australia, all over the U.S.,
the UK, London.
Yeah, I mean the London. It was like a thermal map. Almost.
Yeah, it's a little cluster.
London was blood red.
Yeah.
I just we expected to get some people, and we were doing it just for the hell of it, for the fun of it.
Yeah. And
the response has been great. I mean, it's super rewarding.
It is. That's the word I would use. Rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, to get all these questions, I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah, that is a great surprise. Well, for me, my biggest surprise is a personal one. In having worked by myself almost my whole career, how well I've come to really enjoy working with Rich and Jeff. I mean, how it's changed my outlook on going to work in a positive way. And I didn't know I had that in me, to tell you the truth. And, you could tell if we all think back, there was a much more like of the learning process and the friction as we started to learn each other. And it's not a big space here. We had to learn how to share everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and there is more pressure, I think, when, this kind of touches back to Manny's question. There's more pressure when it's three people on an equal playing field.
Yeah.
Because there is nobody to say, no, we're doing it this way.
Right.
So we all have to come to a consensus on, we're bringing three totally different experiences into this.
Yeah.
You as strictly a woodworker, and Rich as a benchman at a veneer place, and an installer and a woodworker, and me as a finished carpenter and a cabinet maker and an installer. So we're all coming from a different place, trying to come to consensus on how to do these things. So it's not easy to come up with these answers.
Yeah. A lot of it for me is, you got to let go, because there's not, even though there's not just one answer, you have to devalue the importance of your answer, not to the degradation of the outcome, because this touches on another one of those questions. We have respect for one another. I know Jeff's answer to a solution is going to work, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And then once you take that step inside yourself, it's easy. It's like, I can rely on Jeff instead of, I'm going to have to come up with every answer because I work by myself, or I'm the smartest guy in the room. It's I can rely on my friends and colleagues to help me get through anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely something I struggle with, even in like my personal life. I'm a control freak. I can't help it, but you know, I'm working on it. So it's one of those things where you have to, in your life, you've got to identify these nuances in your own personality and try and.
To your credit, you come up with the right answer most of the time.
That's because I overthink everything.
Yeah. So, but so it's not a bad combination.
Yeah.
And, we've all mellowed a bit in this last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
my biggest disappointment.
Yeah.
I'll piggyback on the, these client interactions.
Be diplomatic.
Yeah. I'll give a little example here. I get a text message, a group message from an old client that I worked with as a finish carpenter and then subsequently did something small for with Greene Street. Hey, Jeff, this is so-and-so. I'm introducing you to so-and-so. They want to do a built-in. So we break off into our own little text thread together. I say, head over to our website, go to the contact page. We have our new client questionnaire. That's how we start all of our jobs. It's going to give us a idea of the scope of work. Yada, yada, yada. So they go, they fill it out. I get a text message. Hey, Jeff, I filled out the new client questionnaire, everything except for the budget, because I think the budget is irrelevant. I'm like, okay. Thinking to myself, well, the budget is the most relevant thing, because unless I know you're in it for, what it costs to get something built the way that we build things, there's not really it's not worth it for us to take the time to go through this whole process.
We can't.
It's a huge time investment.
Yeah.
And I said to him, well, the reason we ask about the budget is because our how did I word it? Our design and estimation process is very thorough and time consuming. So that's why we need to establish sort of a general understanding.
We just don't throw out a number off the top of our head.
Right. So I looked at the thing. I asked for general dimensions and stuff like that. I said something like that's going to start in the $10,000 range. Okay. We go back and forth. This is over the course of 10 days.
Yeah.
Back and forth with a drawing.
Yeah, we make drawings.
I want to see these changes, so we make the changes, send it back. Oh, hey, Jeff, I got a couple other prices that are significantly lower, and, I just can't afford you, so that's that, or, something to that effect. It was cordial, yeah. I said, yep, no problem. If you need us, we're here.
I know.
We run into this constantly.
Yeah. Turns out budget was relevant.
Right. That's the thing.
And we probably
you did have a budget. It was less than 10,000.
Yeah.
And you want to say, well, you're going to get what you pay for, and good luck. Mm-hmm. Call us if you need us to fix the hack job that you're going to hire. But you have to take the high road, turn the other cheek.
All those cliches.
Yeah, we always try and go high because. What was it? There was a good example of never burn a bridge. We had
something came back, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I won't say what, but we had a negative experience with someone, and lo and behold, I mean, it ended up not panning out again, but they reached back out, and it's like, you know what? That's why you don't tell somebody to F off when they screw you, because they might come back and want to work with you again, and you have to make that decision whether it's right or not. But shit happens. It's a tough business, and
it's always easier to be nice too. We can do all the complaining in here in our own four walls.
Yeah, and try not to get too emotionally involved in these jobs that don't pan out, because you can create this narrative in your head. It's like when you're talking through a text message and you misconstrue all these things. It's very easy for that to happen.
Yeah.
So always give people the benefit of the doubt. I think it's only going to help you. There's no benefit in holding a grudge or being pissed off and stewing over it. So yeah, that's my biggest disappointment. Sort of a piggyback on yours.
Yeah. That's a good one. That was a good question. Did some soul searching there.
Yeah. It's from our buddy Jack Thornton 98. Hope the apprenticeship is going well if you start.
Yeah, we want to hear from that.
Yeah. So Jack is asking for our tips on installation and working on a job site. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, Jeff is really the guy with most experience on the installs, but I have a couple of tips. I mean, I've done my share. Be prepared.
Yep.
For whatever may occur.
Took the words out of my mouth.
And keep your job site clean.
That's a good one. Yeah, be prepared is number one. So we're going to do an install tomorrow. We have this not vanity, a mantle. So I made some blocks where we're going to attach those to the wall. The pilasters are going to attach to the blocks. Bring extra blocks, bring extra pieces of 3/4 plywood, and we made
backup mantle.
Yeah, we made the I was talking about before that we painted the base wraps with the base cap. We have extra pieces of flat base and cap just in case. Yeah. Who knows what could happen?
Right.
I don't want to have to
and everything.
I don't want to have to come back to the shop or go back on another day. Bring all the tools you're going to need. If you don't think you're going to need a table saw, just bring it.
Yeah.
If it's not, if you have room,
we'll pack it and unpack it for peace of mind.
We went to install this table in an Airstream. Well, there's no reason why we would need wax.
Yeah.
If everything went, according to plan, because it's tung oil wax, but bring the wax.
Yeah. We brought some tung oil, brought some wax.
Who knows? It gets slammed into something. Yeah. You have to touch up a little bit of finish. Have all kinds of screws. I just redid my screw box into a sustainer, and I have from 5/8 up to 3-inch screw, every type of screw. I'd say key is preparation. It's going to make your job that much easier. Yeah.
Think through the job as best as you can in your mind, the processes. Don't rush.
And we talked about it before with Eric's question from Blake Woodworks. I'm wearing a t-shirt today. Thanks, Eric. He was saying that his installs take longer than it takes in the shop. Do your due diligence in the shop. Prepare as much as you can. We pre-cut all the crown, assembled it, painted it as one, the base. We're going to go, and everything should just go in nice and easy.
Right. We put the mantle together already here in the shop. Yeah. And then took it apart.
Right.
And then painted it.
So we're not setting up a miter saw and trying to cut the crown there. Right. When you have there's 1,000 horizontal surfaces in this shop to put things down. All the tools are set up. There's dust collection. You don't want to do anything on site that you can do in the shop.
Making dust in somebody's home. It's on the second floor. So what are we going to do? Start making sawdust upstairs with this carpet, or are we going to go downstairs in the garage?
Right, which is a quarter mile away. Once you walk through the garage, through the kitchen, around the foyer, up the stairs.
Oh no,
into the
take
room.
a 16th off this.
Yeah,
back down the stairs.
That's why my knees hurt so bad. It's from doing that for 5 years.
Those are our tips.
Yeah, right. Yeah, stuff like make yourself cut lists.
Yeah,
is something aside from that. If you're doing crown, measure as many pieces as you can, make a cut list.
Yeah, and even an equipment list. Maybe I used to, when I worked by myself, I used to make a list, but this is back to my catering days. I'd just make a written list of all the tools I was going to need. I'd go through every process that I anticipated, just so when I packed up the truck, I knew I wasn't going to be missing a hose for the nail gun or an extension cord or something like that.
We do that a lot where we write a pack out, basically.
Yeah, that's it.
So the day before, if let's say like tomorrow we're going 10 o'clock, the client wants us to come at 10 to do the install. We make a list today. When we get here in the morning, we look at the list, make sure everything's packed up, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
We looked at the drawings today, said, imagine the process of installation. What are we going to need? We're going to need some saws to cut a notch in this.
Yeah, so it fits over the hearth.
Right.
Yeah. And we're only 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
We still go crazy.
Yeah. Expect the worst and hope for the best.
That's it. You can't say it any simpler than that. Yeah.
Here's another good one. This is from Bob, Mass Woodworks on Instagram. Bob is a super talented guy.
Yeah.
Great follow on Instagram. Tacos or burritos?
Wow. Aside from the food I grew up with, Mexican food is by far my favorite cuisine. I don't even consider it like a foreign food. I lived in San Francisco for so long that if anybody knows the city there, burrito places are like pizza places in New York.
Yeah, and that's like Northern California almost.
Yeah, and San Francisco has its kind of own style, like the Mission style burrito. So I've eaten thousands upon thousands of burritos. I'd have a burrito probably 3 or 4 nights or days a week. And so it would all depend. Like I never had tacos while I was in San Francisco because burritos were so good.
Right.
But lately I've taken to some soft tacos, if I feel like something a little bit lighter where it's just the soft shell and some grilled meat, maybe a little bit of cheese or pico de gallo, something like that. But if I had to pick one, I'd go with the burrito.
Yes, I'm a taco man.
Yeah.
It's a little more simple. Burrito's got a lot going on. Typically, it's got the rice and beans, and I like real Mexican street tacos.
Yeah.
We have a town. I mean, I guess it's really only one town over, Red Bank.
Yeah.
Red Bank has a huge Mexican population, and there's a lot of really good Mexican restaurants. La Frontera del Norte, my favorite. You get the tacos de lengua. That's
of course.
Yeah, that's beef tongue with onion, cilantro, lime. That's it. That's what I like. I like it super simple.
The meat with the lime and the cilantro, that's the street taco.
Yeah, white onion, radishes on the side, grilled spring onions.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love burritos, but if I had to pick one, tacos.
Yeah. In San Francisco, there was like a thing, what burrito place do you like? Because they were all a little bit different.
Like pizza in the city.
Exactly.
Like, are you a Prince Street guy?
Yeah, it was like that. And for the longest time, I was an El Toro guy. And then I started going to this one place. I can't remember the name of it. It was right around the corner. I lived in the Mission. It was like a much darker, greasier kind of place where they used to throw the burrito on the flat top. After it was all put together.
I like that, doing that at home.
Get this nice crust on it.
Then it seals it up.
Yeah. So I could appreciate that style, but El Toro on Mission and 17th in San Francisco.
We have a good Mexican place right around the corner here, Pueblo Mágico.
Yeah, they're good.
They do food in the style of Puebla, Mexico, which is a specific, I guess, a city. And it's good.
Yeah, it is.
Did they have the Sinaloa hot dogs in San Francisco?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Or no, not Sinaloa. That's a cartel, isn't it?
I don't know.
Sonoran hot dog.
Sonoran hot dog. I had one thing and one thing only when I used to go in there.
Yeah, I think that's a Southern California thing.
The thing with the San Francisco burrito is it's built like a cafeteria. And you'd go in there and there would be like, let's say, 10 girls behind the counter.
Oh, it's like Chipotle.
Well, thing is, Chipotle, they have a person per station where...
Oh, they'd follow you down the line.
Yeah, they were in charge. And if you're a regular like I was, there were some girls... They could not roll the burrito to your satisfaction. So you would let other people ahead of you, if you saw a bad roller coming up for you.
That's awesome.
Because the roll is the final important factor.
So similar to that, in Princeton... Which, if you know Princeton University, you know Princeton, New Jersey, Hoagie Haven.
Oh, yeah.
So this is, I don't think they originated the fat sandwich. Are you familiar with the,
I've heard of the fat sandwich, yeah.
At Rutgers in New Brunswick, it's big, which I heard something about them getting rid of those trucks.
Oh, because didn't it originate in one of those trucks?
Yeah, I don't know if that's where it started or what, but I know they have, when I went to West Virginia University, we had what was it called? There was a name. Hungry You or something, and it was like a fat sandwich kind of place. So it spread out to like Morgantown, Pittsburgh, places like that, college towns. Probably what's Penn State? What do they call that? Town?
College Station.
College Station or
is it
College Park? No, that's Atlanta. Yeah, whatever. Penn State, whatever they call that town. Happy Valley.
Yeah.
So they're these sandwiches with, they might have chicken fingers and mozzarella sticks and French fries and this and that. So Hoagie Haven was a place like that in Princeton, and I grew up in the next town over. So in high school and the years following, we'd go there, late at night. And it was the same thing where you got a guy and he would make whatever you. So yeah, there was like different people that were, you wanted that guy and not that guy.
On that guy. Yeah.
They had buffalo fries; those were really good. So it's like French fries with blue cheese and hot sauce, and they would melt the cheese over top in one of those foil.
Yeah, I just College Station is Texas A&M. As my other state, Texas.
What is it? State College? No.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
State College, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So we didn't digress too badly.
If you went to Penn State, let us know. We need to have a fact checker on the side over
there. So there's one for burritos and one for tacos.
Yes. Yeah. Here we go. This was our last question that we got in from Who the 90 on Instagram. He's asked a question before. How do you figure the price for your work and the time to complete it?
Yeah.
We've covered this briefly before. So we have a general idea of how long certain things take just from experience. And then again, it's a discussion.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the job. Here's the drawing. Or this is the idea. How long do you think?
Yeah.
Well, it's a day to mill the lumber. It's a day to cut the plywood. And we literally will talk and we break down the time like that.
Yep. Depending on how busy the shop is, one guy will do it and then just say, here's what I got. And then he'll just roll through it. Yeah, I figure it's going to be, 47 hours. We'll do this in a day and a half and this, and this. And here's the cost of the materials. Some light discussion will ensue, but usually that's how it goes. We're pretty good at divvying up the stuff. It's basically somebody's got a little bit of free time compared to one of the others, and they'll just take it on. There's no laziness really going on around here, and the how is through experience and guesstimation.
Yeah. And maybe more specifically, how do we come up with a price for a client? If you're asking that, we take a spreadsheet that has our material cost on there, broken out to 8-quarter lumber, 5-quarter lumber, 4-quarter, plywood, hinges.
Yeah, everything.
Plug in the numbers, plug in the labor hours, whether it's design, installation, delivery, finishing, all that, plug it in. And it spits out a number.
Yeah.
Then we look at the number. Does it need to be massaged a little bit?
Right. Can we get this for the job is usually the question.
Yeah, typically the case. And then, you got to fudge the numbers a little bit somewhere.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. So that's how we do it. That gives you a good place to start.
Right. And that's important. Going into the job, it's like, man, we got 200 hours of labor that we're getting paid for in this job, and you kind of keep track of what's going on through the job. It's like, man, if we don't want to take a beating, we better pick it up a little bit, or so that's the way it goes. And with each year that goes by, we've got almost 100 years of experience between the three of us. Hopefully we've learned a little bit, and you got to be flexible. You got to roll with the demands of the economy and what's being asked of you by clients, et cetera, et cetera. So what Jeff said is really right on the mark. This gives us our starting point. So we don't go into it blind. We know it's going to cost us this amount to do this job.
Yeah, and our system has kind of evolved a little bit in terms of rough, because what we do is we try and vet the customer, like I said before, with the throwing out this rough sort of number to see if we can even continue the discussion. So we'll find out the cost of the job and then go from there.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about how much is it going to actually cost in labor and material, and then, what we can
Yeah, what can we
get
at as profit?
Right.
I mean, we're in business. We have to make a profit.
Yeah, and that cost doesn't even include, it doesn't include overhead, insurance, all that stuff.
Right.
It's just the labor, if we're paying ourselves as employees, labor and material.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. Here's Matt from Matt's Woodshed on Instagram. Matt asks, did any of you attend a formal woodworking education program or apprenticeship? Short answer.
No.
None.
I've never even taken a woodworking class.
Yeah, me either. In fact, I had metal shop in high school.
Shop was gone when I was in school.
Yeah. It's all school hard knocks, learning on the job when you're doing something that is being done by somebody else, which is ears open, mouth closed.
Yep.
That's always the best two things for learning.
Mm-hmm.
Be there. Do you need a hand? That's how you learn on the job.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jeff was talking earlier, he's an avid reader, YouTube videoer, Google searcher, and so you have to have the will to learn.
Yeah.
That's how I learned too. And we talked about this once before with Norm Abram was like the only guy on TV, and I used to watch that stuff as much as I could find. I'd be scouring the internet. I have his books. I would go to the library. I'd check out any book. We were talking about Krenov.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's always something to be learned from written materials and now the videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I don't want to detract from understate the value of a formal education in something like woodworking.
I think we would all have liked to have done that.
Yeah, like I would have loved to go to the Krenov school. You got guys like Goebel who are like, they're totally smashing it out of the park. Which, I guess that school is closed now, but Krenov isn't there anymore, obviously. Rest in peace. But with the availability of information now, you don't need to be shackled by something so formal where if you're in a formal setting, here's the syllabus, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, now if I know this, I don't need to spend a week on it or 2 weeks or a month. I go on to something else.
Yeah.
So you can learn at your own pace and pick up what you need to and leave behind what you already know because...
Yeah. I mean, there's value in all of that stuff. But we don't... To touch back on the Queen Anne style of furniture, that's not really something that's attracted us in the past. And so there wouldn't be a lot of reason for us to spend time learning a lot of those skills if we're talking about having a limited amount of time and energy, which we do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a point. So that's one of the benefits of not having to go through a full-blown, course. But again, I think we're all wishing we had that opportunity, especially when we were young.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say that we'd be worse off if we did.
Definitely not.
No,
we'd all
quite
be
the
better
opposite.
off.
Yeah,
yeah. There's no way it's bad for you at all.
No.
A lot of times I get a little, tinge of jealousy when I hear that somebody's had that opportunity because we've had to learn every single thing on our own. Mm-hmm. And it might be some satisfaction in it, but I would rather learn some of these things and be taught like the correct way to do it the first time.
Yeah.
A hands-on thing where it's like, no, hold the chisel like this.
Yeah, we were talking about Fusion because we're both, working on learning Fusion 360. Just to have someone come in and look over your shoulder to say, wait. You're getting it done this way.
Yeah.
But if you do it this way, it's going to be 100 times easier and the finished product is going to be that many times better. That's invaluable, something like that.
It's like when I learned SketchUp. I mean, I can bust out a simple SketchUp plan really quickly. And what I did was at the beginning, I just couldn't get over the hump. Kind of like the way I am now with Fusion. There's just some blocks that, I keep making the same mistakes. I put an ad out. I said, I want somebody to teach me SketchUp. and I will build you something. And that's exactly what happened. And it changed my business. It literally changed everything about how I could present and everything like that. And that's what we would both love to have. Some guy just stroll in here on Wednesday evenings, and we'll have a 2-hour class.
Yeah.
And we'll make him, an island for his kitchen or something.
Whatever he wants. So if anyone's local, and you know Fusion for cabinet and furniture makers, because that's the thing. We've, everything I've looked at online, they talk about cabinets and furniture briefly, but it's so powerful of a program that, I think it could really change.
Yeah, they're building motors and everything.
Yeah, so for something as simple in relation to that as cabinets, we should be able to fly.
I think that's, if we had 6 weeks of, this, we would be so set up.
Yeah.
So anybody, if you're out there and you hear this, let's make a deal.
Yeah. What do we got next? This is from Patrick J. Barnett on Instagram, another Jersey guy. What's your go-to paint for cabinetry / built-ins? I'd like to try something new. A lot of relevant questions this week.
Yeah.
We like we said before, we just got done with a whole week of painting.
And we don't paint.
No. Typically, we sub out any painting that has to get done, just because we've talked about this before. We're not painters, so we want a professional painter to do the painting.
Yeah.
So what we used is we had plans on using Benjamin Moore Advance or Advanced.
I think it's just singular.
Advance, which we've used before. It's a nice paint, lays out nice and flat, gets nice and hard. Only problem is it has a 16-hour dry time.
I know. It's crazy.
So in a shop where we don't have a spray booth, we have to set up a makeshift spray booth, spray a part, and then it has to sit until the next day and late into the day.
Yeah, 16 hours.
So it just doesn't make sense. We've done it before, and the one morning we were getting ready to spray this mantle, and I'm like, wait a minute, why don't we just? Oh no, the mantle was.
Yeah, we couldn't get that color. It didn't come in advance.
So what happened was we were going to spray this mantle in advance, but the color that the client had picked out wasn't Benjamin Moore Aura color. So they said, oh, it'll have to be a custom color for advance. So I said, you know what, we'll do the Aura. Well, come to find out, Aura has a 1-hour dry time. So we shot this whole mantle in one day, 3 coats of color. So, that's what, if I had to pick another paint, I'd go with the Aura. It's a nice paint. Yeah. It's definitely retained some of that latex-esque tackiness.
It's not as hard shell as the Advance.
But, I cut the miters on all these parts, and I didn't have any paint flaking off like you see on
it looked
Prime
like
trim.
a thick M&M when you sliced it on the... And it's not like we're, got a crazy, super great blade on there. It's a a rigid carbide, right? It's sharp.
On the I cut those on the table saw.
Cut on table saw. So that blade's that's seen a few miles.
Oh yeah.
And no flaking on that corner. You could see it look like a candy shell.
Yeah.
You can see the
it's a nice paint. It's not totally flat. It's got a little bit of orange peel, but it's miles beyond brushed or rolled.
Yeah. It's not in the same ballpark.
No, and all this painting we do is we're totally candid with the client. Like, listen, we don't do paint really. Like, it's not our shtick.
We try and ease them into some other type of finish.
And it's always a conversation like, we can have our painter paint it, but you're going to be looking at more money.
It's more money. They come into your house, they tape it off, and it's perfect when it's done. It is.
But this is more than good enough for
It's better than most, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're very critical of everything.
Yeah.
So we talk about it like, it looks like an old house, but
yeah, I'd say any any high quality paint, really. I'm sure you're using something good already, but try the Advance out. If you have a space that you can spray in and leave things to dry and it's not going to be in your way, here it takes up the whole shop. It's got to get sprayed over here and then we got to put it over there to dry. So, the whole shop was full for an entire week.
Yeah.
Full of stuff. So we had to prime the window grills and the mantle.
That's the other thing, priming. I mean, we put 3 coats of primer on those window grills.
Yeah. Yeah, they had some imperfections that needed to be
primed out.
Yeah. You live and you learn. So yeah, give the Advance a try. If not, look into the there's a lot of these waterborne finishes coming from the Italian companies and stuff, which are pretty hot right now. It's not really we don't get into that, but know from some other people.
All right. Next, woodworking is over on Reddit. He wants to really dig into our personals.
Yeah.
How long you been doing it, and what's your income from woodworking? Well, I've been doing this, I would say, as a hobby. I did it for probably 10 years. And as a quote unquote professional where somebody paid me to do the work, 20.
Yeah, I mean, I got into carpentry in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So 8 years. I started as a cabinet maker a little over 2 years ago. And then, been here as a furniture maker for a year and a half or so.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of time, a lot of water under the bridge there.
Yeah.
And if you're diligent, if you care, you're going to be picking stuff up all the time.
Yeah.
I know I talk about my teaching days, and it makes me think about when I was a young teacher, not young in age, but young in my experience. I was taking over for an English teacher, and he was retiring after 33 years because in the New York City school system, what happens is you start making more money retired than you do if you work. He said, I have to retire because it's costing me money. Well, Mr. M, I'll call him, had been teaching the same lessons, like teaching Romeo and Juliet and all of these books.
He was phoning it in.
Yeah, where he had all of the lessons and the tests and everything on the mimeograph paper, like with the purple ink.
I have no idea what that is.
You ever see the thing where like the paper has like a smell to it after it runs? This is before Xerox copying existed.
Like a thermal paper?
It's like it rolls around on a drum with ink. Anyway.
No clue.
That's how long ago he'd printed these things and how long he'd been teaching the same exact lessons. And he walked out, he said, here you go. You could take over my class. Here's all your stuff right here.
We wonder why today's youth is...
He was teaching the same exact stuff for, 25 of those 33 years.
Yeah.
So he obviously did not have the will to acquire new information.
It goes back. Complacency is a killer.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you've been doing it. We heard that I've been doing this for 40 years. You heard that line.
God, yeah.
I've been doing this for 40 years. Yeah, you've been doing it wrong for 40 years.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it if you're not constantly learning and trying to find a better way to do it, or.
Yeah. And back at that school, we had this thing called the book vault. So when I wanted to teach the kids a book, I'd have to go into this room where they had all the classroom sets of the novels. And I like one of the APs would bring me in there and I'd pick out a book and they go, oh no, we can't teach that book anymore. I said, why not? Is it the subject matter? He says, no, it's too difficult. So like a book written in the 50s that...
Like, this is green, eggs, and ham. You're teaching ninth grade.
What that 8th and 9th graders had been learning for 30 years, at some point in the 90s became too difficult and they started phasing it out. Well, you know me. You know what I taught them.
No comment.
One of those books, not just one of those books, 3 of those books.
You got to push them.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was like, listen, I'll go through the vocabulary with you. I will help explain the meanings behind some of these settings and situations, because that's what it's about. I mean, you're in school to learn, not just
can't
live
in a bubble.
No. Yeah. That was a lot of fun teaching English.
Yeah, income, we're not going to touch that. It's low, we'll tell you that.
It's not as much as we make a living. We live in a very expensive part of the country, and
and one of the most expensive parts of this part of the country.
Yeah, so we're able to put food on the table, and we're hoping for. I mean, COVID hasn't been kind to us.
No,
and that's why we're slower than we were before this whole adventure started. But we're hoping for a big breakout because we have a lot of stuff simmering on the burner.
Yeah.
That really it is related to COVID.
Yeah, if it all hits, we're going to be buried.
Yeah, then we may need
in a good way,
apprentice.
buried in work. What we got next? This is from X Crockett X on Reddit. Who was he was also banned from our session.
Yeah.
He said, "What's the best way to apply polycrylic? No matter how expensive a brush I use, it streaks and you can see brush marks." Again, very relevant. We were just using polycrylic.
Yep.
Rob, you were the one using it mostly, so.
Yeah, well, we built this barn door, an interior barn door, and it turned out that the finish that the client wanted required us to put on what's it they call a matte or a flat?
Matte.
Polycrylic, that exact finish. And we put 3 coats over it, over the finish color, which was black. And yeah, I hear you. What I found was after putting on numerous coats and trial and error, I mean, more coats than I can count, even though it had 3 finish coats, a somewhat dryish brush. I mean, working fast because this stuff dries, as you know, instantly. Jeff saw it. I mean, by the time I got to one side of the panel,
I said, "Hey, you forgot to paint those things." He said, "No, they were already dry."
Yeah, exactly. You got to try not to work it too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tried using a foam pad, like one of those short bristled foam pads.
Yeah, too many bubbles.
Yeah, a lot of bubbles from the foam. And no matter how much I worked that pad before painting, it left a lot of those little things in there. But what I did was I would go back after every coat and sand it with 400. Mm-hmm. And I think that was it. Like I could actually sand out some of the ridges that might appear and some of the bubbles. And then with each successive coat, you could get a little bit lighter and you're less susceptible to those heavy brush marks.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I've done the same thing. Multiple coats with 220 or higher between coats. And the desk we built for Danny.
That's right.
That rich finish. Yeah. It was super flat. Yeah. Like a nice smooth finish, I mean, by saying flat. And I think he might have done that with a foam applicator sort of pad. Mm-hmm. But I think the sanding is really the key.
It is.
Because you get a flatter finish if you sand between coats.
Yeah. It's laborious.
But anything applied with a brush, or it's going to have some sort of brush mark. Yeah. You could spray it maybe. I don't know if you can spray polycrylic, but a sprayed finish is going to be flatter, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. So that's it. I mean, try not to, like if you're seeing it white as it goes on, it's too heavy.
Yeah.
Little streaks of white, but yeah, it shouldn't be white.
And keep a wet edge.
Yeah.
Because any water-based kind of product, you have to keep a wet edge.
Right. That's it. Choose, the direction and the path you're going to go. Go with the grain for sure. Imagine you're going to see all those brush strokes, even though you're hoping not to, as you go through with the grain.
It'll disguise them.
Yeah, real careful in the corners. So I hope that helps, Crockett. But I feel your pain.
Yeah, not fun. That's why we stick to our tongue oil.
That's right. We stay in our lane.
Yep. We got another great one here from our buddy Manny. How do you guys feel about the, quote, not my job mentality? Should we all care about the guy in front of us and the guy in back of us? Or do we stick to what we are paid to do?
Wow. That's a work environment question. This is no matter where you work, no matter what you do for a living, if you work with one other person, you have experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
You already know our answer if you've listened to us at all. That's that doesn't exist. Simply doesn't exist here, and not really because there's some bylaw. It's just that's who we are. We would, as people, never ever think of that as something we should use as a guideline. So, how do we feel about it? It's bogus. I mean, you can't get anything done that way. And should we care about the guy in front of us and in back of us? Of course. And if you're one of those guys that only does what they're paid to do, well, you're getting paid too much. Yeah. That's my opinion.
I think you need to look at it every time as what's best for the client.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's our number one responsibility is what is going to serve the client best, what's going to give the best finished product to the client. So if it means going and doing something on the job site on an install that technically not our job, we're not getting paid for it, well, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
If it means we're doing a kitchen install and the wire needs to go from the right side of the cabinet to the left and we have the ability and whatever to move it, we're going to move it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing for me is if it's best for the client, I'm going to do it. Am I going to go out of am I going to put the outlets in because no, because that's not my job.
Yeah. But that's stepping on toes.
Yeah. If it's best for the client, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. It's like what Manny's describing. If that kind of thing exists, if he's asking this question, that's a symptom of a, bad morale at a workplace.
Yeah.
If any of that exists, it's because people aren't happy. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen. We all worked in places that had that and had the other thing. We're friends and partners here, so maybe this isn't the best example, but I remember working, as a line cook, and the job of a line cook, besides cooking the menu for the daytime shift, is to do the prep work. Not for just the daytime, but for the night guys, because it's always going to be busier at night. And when I was doing the day gig, is me and the night guys, we used to be in like a unsaid competition over who was going to do more of the other guy's prep work. Like the whole goal was to do like the guy's entire prep work, so they came in and didn't have to do anything except cook. And it became nuts because like it was this weird competition of doing more for the other guy. And it was a lot of fun. It was really great. And that's how good stuff gets done. And who benefits? The client.
Right.
The guy who's sitting out there getting a meal that's done with utter attention paid to that meal because somebody's not sidetracked by having to clean 60 pounds of chicken breast.
Yeah, and overstressed. And
Yeah. So,
good example for us is like that walnut and cherry console that we built. We had to have an electrician come in who was already working with the client, other projects in the house, and put in a couple outlets in the toe. And we went above and beyond to coordinate and specify that we want this outlet. Got this bought the covers ourselves to make sure we get the right ones
because we don't want cheap ones. We wanted them to look good.
Yeah, and it ended up he put the cheap ones there anyway, and then we had to get them changed out. But
we left them taped on. What were the $15
solid brass with a oil rub bronze finish and
outlet covers.
Yeah. It's a time investment. It's protect your project.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Protect your client. Don't let somebody else who's coming after you F up the whole thing that you work so hard to make perfect for the client.
Yeah. One job I did out in Princeton on the campus, I don't know if you recall, that it was sort of like this wedge-shaped wall unit that hung on the wall, and they put like a TV on top of it. Well, I had gone back to their house months later to do another job, and when the cable guy came, he drilled a hole from the inside of the cabinet to the outside, blew out a chunk. They were like, oh yeah, that was terrible. I was horrified. I mean, it was like I had to catch my breath.
Yeah, it's like one of your kids getting like stabbed.
I know, but anybody who's ever held a drill and drilled through wood knows
it's gonna blow out on the back.
And then
backside.
not like it's just like sort of this willy-nilly spot, like not in the corner, no grommet, just to run the coax through.
Manny will remember this. So we did at the shop that we used to work at, where Manny still works. We did a build out on a restaurant that did an addition to the restaurant. They were expanding, and I built this hostess stand out of walnut, mitered, walnut shiplap front, all solid 4/4 walnut. And we're sitting there eating lunch, and the owner shows up. The owner of the company that we work for shows up, and we see him over there. And all of a sudden I hear the paddle bit going.
Yes, of all things.
Yeah,
a spade bit.
Yeah, which rarely comes out in this setting.
Oh God.
And we try not to pay too much mind, because it's like you don't want to make eye contact. It's like dealing with a wild animal. You don't want to open yourself up to any conversation. So he leaves, and we go over and look, and he had drilled all of these raggedy holes, not even through holes, just like to make a mortise for a wire to go from one point in the hostess stand to another point.
Was that because there was some BX in there, right?
No, it was like a Cat 5 or something for like the open table, for the open table machine, or the POS system.
Yeah,
that's an example of not caring about the guy behind you.
Yeah, or the client. I mean, because you took an exquisitely built piece and just ran it through a shredder.
And, you have to stick your head and look. Yeah. But that's what matters, is what you do where the client can't see it from standing back here.
Exactly. And we try and impress that upon our clients, the care that we put into the things that they would never, ever know unless we told them. But there's few things more satisfying than watching one of your past clients describe what they have to somebody else, because now they've lived with this piece and they've learned, and to watch them tell somebody like one of their neighbors or something about all the care that went into it, it's very heartwarming. That was a great question.
Thanks, Manny.
Oh, we're getting down to the end of it, aren't we?
Well, we're at that point. Thoughts on the beer of the week?
It's empty.
Yeah.
I rather enjoyed this.
That was good. It was, what's the word I'm looking for here? This was like what's a good analogy?
It reminded me almost like having a port or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's
got some sweetness, but it's not artificial, and it was done very well, where that waffle sauce was like...
Right. Waffle sauce wants to be this.
Yeah, it'd be like if you had like a really nice chocolate that would had like a raspberry filling, and then you had like something from like in front of the register at CVS that was like a chocolate with it.
Yeah, because it almost reminds me of like an after dinner kind of thing. They do use the word dessert style milk stout. Yeah. That's why I think of it in that regard.
The smell is nice.
Yeah. I think it was so well done the combination of all these flavors, where the waffle one may have been planned well, but the execution wasn't there.
Yeah, like the concept. That's why I bought it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wow, a pecan waffle beer. That sounds really cool.
This could have gone horribly wrong too. But
and that's why I got it, because it was like a total toss up. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I could see like drinking this like when it's really cold outside. Maybe you're sitting by the fire.
Yeah.
That would be like the commercial or something like that. It really gives you that kind of feeling.
Yeah, and it's 8.8% alcohol, which is pretty high. So, and it you can get a little bit of that heat like from the alcohol as it starts to sit and get a little bit warmer. You can taste a little bit of that alcohol, so it's kind of like warming. So, yeah, I mean, hey, it was good. I want to try another Icarus Brewing beer because
Icarus Fluffist,
yep. Imperial milk stout with cacao, vanilla, graham cracker, and marshmallows. And they're using all real
ingredients, not flavorings. Yeah,
right. So they're taking the beer and sitting it on top of those things.
Yeah, that's probably another reason why it's so good. Like instead of vanilla flavoring, which is alcohol, they're using Madagascar vanilla beans.
Yep.
And that's really where the best vanilla beans come from.
I'd say it smells most like vanilla and marshmallow, which, I mean, marshmallows really kind of just smell like vanilla.
Yeah.
I didn't get a lot of the graham.
No, that's probably the hardest to convey.
More chocolatey.
Yeah.
But hey, bravo to you, Icarus Brewing.
Yeah. 2 thumbs way up, you think, Jeff?
Yeah. I might have another. Maybe. I got to see what time it is.
We will have another at one point.
Yeah. Well, we have to do the Patreon only after show.
That's right.
So we want to mention Tool of the Week, always in the description and on our website.
Yeah.
It's the Starrett 18-inch combination square with the protractor head, I guess we're calling it.
Yeah.
If you want to help the podcast, you can go to our website and click one of those affiliate links. That'll toss a couple cents our way. It's not a lot, but anything helps.
Literally a couple of cents.
Yeah, literally. Let us know about the ads, the pre-roll and the post-roll ads, if you like it, if you dislike it.
If it's interfering with your enjoyment of the podcast, we really, would rather
because it's really not worth it to us if you guys don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you don't like it because nobody likes ads. But are you willing to sit through a 1-minute ad so that we get 1 penny? That's basically it. Just trying to make a living here and offset the cost of doing the podcast.
Yeah, I wonder where the rest of that 99 cents is going.
Yeah, I don't know. As always, like us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Check out the video version of the podcast if you haven't already. We got some other videos up there on YouTube. Hopefully, going to be putting some more up soon. Somebody had the good idea of maybe making a little video about the tool of the week every week.
Yeah.
So we're kicking around that idea. We got some other stuff planned. Some big things coming, I'd say. What else?
I think covers everything, really.
Yeah. Want to give a shout out to our gold tier Patreons, David Murphy and Manny Sirianni.
Oh, for those that can see.
Oh, yeah. Rob's wearing his DW's remodeling shirt, and I got well, you can't see mine. Blake
Frisco,
Woodworks.
Texas.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Blake
Cowboy
Woodworks
fans.
down in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yeah, he's got some awesome shirts. Next week, we'll have to be sporting them in front of the camera because we were jealous when we saw those shirts.
Yeah, and they're green.
Yeah, they're green.
Which is big.
Yeah, really, really nice logo. We'll take a look at them next week. Oh, man.
Well, thanks again.
Yeah. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you next week, hopefully, right? Ciao.
Later on.